I don't believe in God,
but I believe in music.
It's got the power,
and I'm gonna use it.
I believe in evolution,
and the world needs solutions.
I'm gonna sing a song of reason.
We need a revolution.
Right now, don't hesitate. We gotta try to change the weather before it's too late.
Okay, that's our little intro.
That's a cool intro.
It was fun.
Yeah, that was with the help of the community that we put that together. As you can see, some wonderful voices in there, two of who are here. Anyway, we'll let you intro because Godless Granny is usually guest host. We've had Claire as well, but Gigi is generally the one. So fire away.
John, it is so great to have you here, and I thank you so much for helping us to promote this channel. So welcome.
Thanks for having me. I mean, I always like to try to promote and help out new creators, newest creators, and smaller creators. Because I was a small creator at one point. I remember starting off from literally being a nobody and having to climb my way up. So I always try to pay that forward.
That was a question we had for a little bit later, but since you brought it up, let's go ahead and go straight to that one. How did you do it? Was there anyone in particular that helped promote you and bring you up, or how did you do it?
Yeah, I don't recall anybody specifically. So essentially, how the whole godless engineer thing kind of started was that I had deconstructed from being Christian, and I kind of had this new worldview of things, and part of this worldview was not shying away from it because I had spent my entire life sort of being in the background, sort of shying away from confrontation and not really exactly pushing back, going against the grain. And so I just kind of decided that I wasn't going to do that anymore, especially with this. I felt like it was too important to me and my own personal ethics and all this other kind of stuff to, stay true in how I present myself. And so that resulted in me being very true to myself on my personal Facebook profile. And a lot of my family members had a problem with it. A couple of people in my family defriended me over it, or unfriended me. And so what I eventually did was I eventually went and created the Facebook page so that I could, feel free to be myself without the risk of alienating my entire family. Because at that point, my family was still important to me, which not to say that they're not important now, but they were a lot more present in my life than they are now. And so I didn't want to risk alienating them in my life. So I just started the page. And so I just sort of grinded on the page, ever so often, or every single day I would grind on it. I would make memes and all this other stuff. I'd interact with people. I'd have conversations. I eventually made friends with people on Facebook that were in that ran the Atheist Bible Commentary, and they had a much bigger page than me. So I made memes for them. I posted on their page. I really interacted with them, and they were kind of my first sort of group that I interacted with, and I guess helped promote me a little bit. And I guess it's just really through connections that I've made, making connections with not only bigger creators, but also creators that were, around my size as far as page following goes. But just friends in the community. So just being very interactive with the community. And I think that's where you get to a point sometimes in I guess, growing this presence in the community, that you start becoming disconnected from the community. And I see that a lot with a lot of bigger like YouTubers and bigger personalities in the community, and they end up becoming disconnected. And I never want to get to that point. Like, I never want to become disconnected from the community. I definitely want to stay sort of in the trenches, like amongst other people that, you know, are similarly, you know, not necessarily trying to make a name for themselves, but just trying to have their voices heard. And so as far as like what helped me grow, it was just a constant and persistent grind, and you know, constantly changing how I attack things, constantly changing my format, constantly trying to figure out, you know, how best to interact with the community is kind of how I view it.
Yeah, and keep it interesting.
Mhm.
I guess one thought I have about that is, like, you're talking about getting disconnected with your
Mhm.
audience. Does there come a point, though, do you think, like, if you're getting large numbers, you can't be communicating with everybody all the time. So it's inevitable that you will be distanced up to a point. If you're starting to get large numbers, that's going to happen. So it's a bit out of your control.
Yeah, I think that that's definitely a worry.
Mm.
And you know, as you get bigger and bigger, I know that there for a while I really wasn't addressing comments like on my YouTube page. I would maybe address one or two on occasion, but you know, honestly, here lately, what I've been trying to do is interact in some kind of way with nearly every comment that I get on a new video, at least for the first little while. And I feel like that helps me stay connected to the community. I've also been doing a lot of I guess community stuff over there on TikTok, like
Mhm.
interacting with people, talking with people. And I think that, you know, there are some people out there that maybe can't handle, you know, all that kind of social interaction and everything like that. And I'm not trying to like, you know, shame them about this or anything like that, but I feel like at some point you do get too big to the point where you can't always interact with everybody. But I
Mhm.
still feel like in order to really be engaged in the community, to really know what people in your community are dealing with, I feel like you
Mm.
have to communicate with those in your community, even if it's not every single person.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I feel like communicating with people in this very social sort of
sure.
community, I feel like is an important aspect.
And maybe focusing on the ones, being selective and focusing on the ones that maybe have the biggest issues and you feel that
Mhm.
you can help more so than others who might just be having a bit of a chat, and you may have to kind of just push that
Yeah.
aside because you don't have the time. Like,
Right.
there are
And
people
I
that
mean,
need to talk.
yeah, you become intimately aware of who's a good interlocutor and who is truly wanting to I guess better themselves, or who's truly wants to have a good conversation. You start being able to identify people just by the rhetoric that they use as to
Mm,
whether or not they're going to be somebody that you need to talk to. And
yeah.
I feel like that only comes with experience. And I feel like if you distance yourself from the community, or you don't
Mhm.
interact with the community, you can really lose sight of like what issues are important,
Yeah.
what issues are trolling, and
Yeah.
what issues are really not issues at all.
Yeah,
Oh,
right. You could forget about why you started doing it in the first place and
Yeah.
oh,
just be kind of focused on the success of the channel, I guess.
it,
Maybe.
it on that line, if I may, for smaller channels like ourselves, you know, in Granny, who obviously is growing so much, do you have a suggestion on, without all of that experience, like the years that you have had dealing with it, how to try to navigate that in the beginning? Because I think I can speak for us. We all deal with that, you know, regularly as our channels are growing, feeling that disconnect in from the community, but wanting to actually be there and reaching out. But then when you're reaching out, like some of the stuff that's coming back, how do you filter it through? Like, what would be, if you could, a suggestion from your experience on how to?
Right. I think one of the things that I usually can pick up on like pretty quick is how pedantic somebody is being. by pedantic, I mean, like, there are certain people out there with a very Jordan Peterson night sort of mentality of, wanting to define every single word.
Pseudo
And
intellectual, you mean?
Pseudo.
pseudo intellectual. They're looking to define every single word, like getting down to the whole Bill Clinton thing of, what do you mean by is
Being
kind of thing.
philosophical,
Mhm.
unnecessarily so.
Yes, unnecessarily hyper philosophical, I think, is a big red flag for me, because
Yeah.
at that point, what they're looking to do is to put you in a corner. And I've been a victim of this. Like, there's a discussion that I had on my channel that I streamed on my channel, and the other guy streamed on his channel, and he kind of got me into this corner of like trying to define things in a certain way so that it works out for him. And this is typically known as like begging the question, or something of that kind of sort. And they're ultimately looking to try to do like an equivocation fallacy. They're wanting to define words in a certain way so that it works out for them, so that you'll end up agreeing with them, so that they can later go on and say, oh, he agreed with me on this thing. And so they what they'll do is they'll contextualize it one way and they'll equivocate it, and then later on they'll be like, oh, but he agreed with me on this, so now he's flip-flopping, or he lied at one point or another. And so like they try to get you into this sort of position. So typically whenever I encounter those people, I'm like, I'm not looking to get into a pedantic definitions game. I'm not trying to get into a pedantic philosophical argument about this. We understand like what the topic is, or what the definition of this word is. That's what we're generally working off of, and that's the very specific case that we're talking about here. And if they still try to get you to redefine things in ways that will make you agree with them, definitely don't go down that rabbit hole. I would either just disconnect from that kind of conversation, or just label that person as like pedantically philosophical. And so like that's one particular way that you can navigate it. I would also think that anybody that is one thing that I've noticed lately, like because I've been watching a lot of TikTok lives where they invite people up, is if they don't understand what pronouns are. If they don't understand what pronouns are, then I think that you just need to move on from the conversation, because they're obviously they're too uneducated in order to have complex conversations, or they're being transphobic. And in which case, I just would rather not have a conversation with anybody that's going to be transphobic. So, I mean, I'm sure that there's more things that I could probably think about or tell you if I had, like a week or two to like think about the different things that I've encountered. But I would say that those are probably the big two. Don't get into pedantic philosophical arguments. And if you encounter anybody that doesn't understand pronouns, just, totally disconnect from them.
Yeah.
If I could throw in 2 cents worth, Claire, on the 2 things that I've done that have really helped me to grow. One is shorts. YouTube had suggested that shorts increase your subs. I didn't see it, but it really works. You make a few shorts and watch your subs go out. The other is accept invitations from other shows and be a guest on those shows, so that you get exposure to more people. I asked John if he would get me on the line, just for that reason, so I could get some more exposure and some more people could meet me.
Yeah, because I mean, you've all been very, very supportive in community and small channels. And I know even when I didn't have any subs, I was doing the same thing when I was modding for other channels, just supporting in the community and promoting all of the channels. So reasonable, those that respect boundaries and honest discourse, which that can be an awful catchphrase, honest discourse, because it really depends on who you're talking to, right? Like, but what I respected about your answer, Godless Engineer, if I may, is that what I took from it is it's okay to have those boundaries and just recognize how far we're going into the conversation. And you don't have to have every conversation, which has been one of my struggles. Like when you're trying to grow a channel, not every conversation is beneficial to you, especially when they're trying to throw you off topic, which just happened to me before I came on stream. I'm talking about the death penalty, and they want to talk to me about a 7-minute timeline for some evidence from 5 years ago. And I'm like, huh? Okay. Yeah.
When I see comments that are off topic, I just simply ignore them.
Yeah. Thankfully, mods can help with that. But thank you both. Thank you both. I think
It's very distracting, and there are a lot of disingenuous people out there who are really not there to get to the facts or want to know the truth. They just have an agenda, and they're just going to steer everything in that direction.
Shroud of Turin, Shroud of Turin.
Oh, exactly. But staying connected with the community is a very is a very real issue that we all are dealing with, because I might speak for everybody, I don't know, but we're here because we want our voices heard, and we want to connect with people on that level about these subjects. But as we grow, I'm going through a period right now where I tripled in size within a couple of weeks. I'm having a little difficulty in the people that think I'm not available anymore, while I'm trying to deal with a new influx in a redefinition of content on where that's coming from. And it feels like you're always leaving somebody behind, but you still want to stay open, to those relations, those community, and the communities. Because I think many of you know I'm in several different communities. I'm sitting here with my critical thinking atheist and transgender community combined, where I'm actually from an offshoot of the true crime kind of stuff in my development over the last 3 years. So it does seem a little bit odd, but I am an atheist, and I am an advocate for transgender, and I am actually one who loves great debate and critical thinking and even philosophy. I'm a nerd. I'm like a multifaceted diamond nerd here, sitting here. But it's hard to navigate all of that. Somebody always feels disappointed. And that's my next question. How do you deal with the disappointment from long-term subscribers and people that have followed you when you get on an issue that maybe they're not so great about? How do you deal with that kind of pressure?
Yeah. So I normally get this whenever I talk about like mythicism, because mythicism is a very important topic to me, and I regularly get people that are like, I just simply don't care about this, and I'm like, that's totally fine. And I feel like if I can't, I guess I can't fake it, like if I'm not really committed to a particular topic, then I'm not going to be invigorated about it. Like I'm not going to give like the most entertaining take on something or whatnot. And so like, that's why I vary up a lot of my content. I've been on a little bit of a very specific track here lately, but that's just because other types of content take a little bit longer for me to script up. And so when people feel like, oh, does he not do this thing anymore, or why don't you just stick to this kind of topic, I tend to focus on the thing that I'm most concerned with at the time. And I feel like most people can understand that, you're a human being. And me, I not diagnosed ADHD, but I seem to check all the boxes. And so like, I will hyperfixate on one particular topic for a while, and then I'll shift and I'll hyperfixate on another topic and everything like that. And so like, when people are disappointed in it, or I see lower viewership numbers, I just, I guess I just sort of, to take it from Taylor Swift, I just sort of shake it off. Like I feel like what I'm doing is true to myself, and I make content that I feel very secure in. And, if people don't want to come along for the ride, then that's totally their decision. Totally fine with that. And but the one thing that I won't stand is for them to try to dictate what kind of content that I do, because my content is my content, and I make the content that I want to make. And if people don't like that, then they can definitely consume content from other people, and people are just going to come and go. I wouldn't hang my like attached, not hang, but I wouldn't attach myself too much to any one particular like person that's consuming your content, because there are people that I've met personally that say they like my content and everything, but they really haven't watched me in a while, and that's perfectly fine. I guess I have more of the opinion, like, I don't expect everybody to watch my bullshit. I have a lot of bullshit out there. I make 2 to 3 videos every single week, so I don't expect
Wow.
people to like give me their time every single week for that. I'm just appreciative for the time that they do give me. And so that's why I try to make a varying amount of content so that everybody gets kind of what they're looking for, but at the same time, I only make content that I can invest myself in.
You
if
want
that
to be
makes
true to yourself. That's the core.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or you're not
I'm
gonna do it.
impressed you're doing 3 videos a week. I just know everyone sees like an hour's worth video. They don't
That's
realize the hours that
time
goes into
consuming.
that. That
Very
is
time
like,
consuming.
Oh, yeah.
I
Well,
mean,
so
yeah.
So this week I put out 3 videos, but that's only because my video today was about Eric Hovind and child marriages. And
Oh,
like the reviewer on that video was like, the entire video is problematic, limited to no ads. So I automatically knew that the video was going to get like no traction in the algorithm. It was going to go nowhere, and hardly anybody, as far as like my general viewership goes, like comparatively, hardly anybody's going to watch it because I'm talking about a very sensitive topic. And that's how Eric Hovind
Yeah.
has no actual moral foundation for condemning child marriages. And so like, that's a difficult topic to talk about. And it definitely, is a problem for YouTube apparently, because the entire video is a problem. And so like, I knew that it was going to be that way. So I just went on ahead and put it out. And it's just going to sit out there for the entire weekend and everything like that. And it's going to do whatever it's going to do. But the fact is that I don't allow like how comfortable of a topic it is for people to listen to or to talk about or anything like that. Eric Hovind made totally despicable and disgusting comments about consent, and acts like atheists have no leg to stand on as far as morally condemning child marriages. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted to turn around on him. I wanted to be like, no, actually, you don't have a leg to stand on, because Israelites and the God of the Bible in general has no problem with it. So you should therefore be supporting child marriages. And in fact, conservative Christians out there, they regularly push back against laws that outlaw child marriages. So it seems like everybody, like every conservative Christian, should be supporting, the whole child marriage aspect. And so it was more important to me to put that out there and to be honest about that, how I felt about that and my argument, than it is that, a lot of people saw it, because I could totally see somebody going back in, trying to rework the video, try, censor things, delete things, or one thing or another, and try to make sure that it's monetized so you can make money off of it. Ultimately, like, my daytime job as an engineer, it is so far ahead of whatever I could ever hope to make off of YouTube that I just simply don't care about it. I care more about educating my audience and more about arming my audience with good counter arguments to religious bullcrap. And I also, main point of that video is to empower my audience to, instead of being on the defensive all the time, be on the offensive. Like, if they want to say you have no moral way of saying child marriage is bad, oh, okay, under your worldview, how is it bad? Because like they use the Bible and everything like that. The Bible definitely condones it. So how are you going to say that it's bad? Like, I feel like people need to start turning these arguments around on the Christian apologists and put them on the defensive, because we don't need to be defensive about anything. They are the ones that need to defend their position of the Bible as the moral foundation.
That's what an apologist is supposed to be.
Right. And it actually opens it up for them to actually have to look at other issues that they're actually ignoring. Like, if they'll pick this one because it's popular and to get over, but they're ignoring all the other missteps like going all along the way. So I can imagine it is an uncomfortable conversation, but like, wow, great that you actually did that. No, not worrying about the numbers, but like many of us out here, just wanting to start those conversations, like see something you think and go with how we feel about it, be it right or wrong. On
Yeah, they're important conversations, and like I watch some channels that will put content out there to do with climate change, and they
Mhm.
already know it's not going to get a great lot of views for whatever reason. People just don't want to know. It's
I,
almost like we've given up and just said, "Yeah, I know it's there. I don't want to know."
yeah,
Yes, we're going. Whoosh.
yeah. I'd be curious
Um,
to see the pushback on that, like whether you actually
yeah,
get a lot from Christians actually sticking up for actually holding some opinion on it. Like,
Oh,
so
well,
yeah.
yeah, so I've made the
it's
argument,
clearly
and it's
wrong.
an argument that actually Godless Granny inspired me to put
Mhm.
into the video, about the conception of Jesus and like how that all happened,
Mhm.
because I make the argument that like God, being this all-knowing being, should know that consent is like a paramount concern,
Mhm.
especially when you're talking about impregnating an individual, and God does not seem to care about asking for Mary's consent in the Luke and Matthew, as far as impregnating her with Jesus,
Mhm.
aka himself. And so like I put that in the video because of the pushback that I've gotten from a lot of people, because they say, oh, Mary gave her consent. I'm like,
Not
that's not
really.
my contention. Well, she lackadaisically gives her consent. Like she just sort of lets it happen. She's fine
Mm.
with it. Is what how it's portrayed, at least in the stories.
Well,
Mhm.
Specifically Luke.
she's never actually asked. She just resigns herself to what she was told.
Right. That's my point. Is that
Exactly.
yeah, God should have asked for consent if that was his plan. He
Mhm.
should have done these things, but he doesn't. And so that's how I make the argument that God is actually, a rapist.
He
And
doesn't
when
need
I say
consent.
that,
He's God.
Yes, because there's
yeah,
so many different things you could label it. That's authoritative control if you think about it legally, right? Godless granny,
mhm.
like that is just
Well,
putting somebody in a position where they have no power, and of course they're going to go with it. So
yeah,
is that
and
actually consent? Not
that's
legally, in
that's
many.
exactly
Well,
why we have laws against sex with minors,
Yeah.
because
mhm.
of the power differential.
Can you imagine doing a whole stream on the legal aspects of God? Like this would be like, oh my God, I can't even. My brain just exploded. I thought.
I
Well,
mean,
yeah,
so it,
so, like, when I make that argument, like I even had a former Catholic, like they're atheists
Mhm.
now, but they were former Catholic, and they responded to me and was like, "Hey, I think you're going a little bit too far with this argument." And I just I didn't like snap back or anything. I was just like, "Well, look, let's think about this logically. Like, does he ask her for consent? Oh, no, he doesn't, but it's different. How is it different?" And so like you kind of get into in that particular conversation, they eventually were like, I understand, you're totally right, it's just a knee-jerk reaction that I have about it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So like I feel like most of the counter arguments that I get are really just special pleading, saying that, oh
Mhm.
well, it's okay because it's God, like this whole
Yeah,
divine command theory type of argument. And so like that's the only argument that I've really gotten back from making that particular statement. And like people, like when I talk to Christians, they're like totally surprised that I would say that God is a rapist. And it's like, yeah, he is. Just
well,
look at the Bible. He totally is. And they're just like, oh, you're taking it out of context. What context? I'm literally reading it from the Bible. I can't tell you the amount of times that I've had to repeat, both to atheists and
Mhm.
Christians or religious people in general, I'm just reading the texts.
Yeah.
Like, you want to go back to the Greek, it's going to say the same thing that I'm reading off of here right
Mhm.
now. I'm just reading the words on the page. What problems do you have with the words on the
yeah.
page?
It
Yeah,
comes
because
down to the
but
dictator.
he
Mhm.
can't write people himself. He's got to do it through people.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it comes
Mhm.
down to the dictator that the laws don't apply to him, just to everyone else in the country.
And
Rules
there's
for
that
me, not for thee.
yep,
Or
that knee-jerk
rules for thee,
reaction.
not for me.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
knee-jerk
sorry.
reaction that you cannot question God. Like they're that belief, they no question about any of that. That's that instantaneous, like they say, knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, you can't go there. Don't you dare look at those words and assign like modern concepts on any of that. Like you can't. There's no
Look, this
question.
is
Yeah.
this is an awesome conversation, and but I'm just going to lighten up for a second.
Sure.
because it's actually going so quick. It's like we're almost halfway through because we generally do about an hour. It doesn't matter if it goes a bit over or a bit under. Not important, but we generally try to keep it around that. So I thought I would just lighten up things for a second before we continue on with the questions or the guideline that we had. Now, this this thing that I want to play, I want to ask you, Godless Engineer, why you are not the lead singer in a metal band. And I'm gonna show you why. Okay, I won't leave it a mystery. I've put together a little compilation here. It's a little montage. It only goes for like 25 seconds, actually, but this is to make my point. So I'll stick it on now.
This is true. Jesus will rule, but only if you don't appease my wizard. He will burn you in the pits of hell forever. You will go to hell forever. You spend the other. Pick wisely who you serve. Which is alright, so I can smell the sweet flavor. And so that's not cool. Just saying.
Oh my God, I love it.
I didn't have it. I was going to make it bigger, but I didn't have enough time. So I just thought it was just a couple of nights ago. So yeah, but
Yeah.
look, seriously, why are you not the lead singer in a metal band, mate? Your range, and it's just because of being a musician and a songwriter and all that stuff. I'm aware of things like that, and I'm listening. I've watched a few of your videos, and I'm listening to you talk, and you do not always, but every now and then sort of go up into this emphatic rant where you get right up there. I was thinking, man, if you're a singer, you're hitting some notes there. So I thought it'd be funny to put that little thing together.
Yeah, I've never if you've watched my content, you know that I have a both a ukulele and a banjolele and I regularly sing like on like my live streams and stuff. I feign
right.
being able to play stuff, and I mean I do have a bit of a music background. Like I was I started playing an instrument in the 6th grade, and I played all the way through like my high school. So that's like what 6-7 years of like playing an instrument. But I mean, I've never been a singer, and I don't sing all that well, which I don't know if that's really the prerequisite for being a metal singer. I feel like the metal singers,
it's purely a tone thing. Like it's a
Yeah.
sound of your voice when you get up there. Like if you're a singer and you could sing in tune and whatever else, and were able to hold a note, that vocal tone is a naturally good metal or hard rock singing tone. Is honestly
my wife
genuinely
just
She's
my wife
up
just
right
said
here.
that I can't hear a tune at all. So So as far as all that goes, I mean, when I do those things, like I feel like what I'm doing is I'm just sort of removing the filter off of my brain.
Yeah.
And I'm emphasizing it a
Projects
little
really,
bit
really
more.
well. It projects very well, by the way.
Yeah.
It's who
I
you
mean,
are.
so we as I've been doing, like I've lived in multiple different places as I've had the channel. And so like when most of the live streaming was going on, we were in an apartment. And so like just imagine like my earlier stuff and me screaming at the top of my lungs, and we're in an apartment. I can just only imagine my neighbors at the time that would hear me scream some of that stuff like,
Recording those videos.
how can you
What's going
suck
on?
devil dick like that? And like,
Yeah.
you're just
They're ringing the
hearing that.
cops. It's like, guys, there's something going on next door. It's like,
I've been watching long enough to remember your early stuff when you used to give the earbud warnings.
Yeah. And so it was it was a bit crazy back then. And now, I mean, like we're in our own house, but I still feel like my very Christian neighbors can hear me scream the shit that I read off. Oh yeah, they can hear. Apparently, they can definitely hear me outside.
Really?
Anyway,
My
that
wife can hear me outside.
that was just a little bit of fun there, just a little side track.
We have a request.
Together,
We have
but
a
anyway.
request in the chat for Brocephus to show up. And I had a question of where Brocephus originally came from.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Brocephus, you know, that I'll admit it here and only here, is a character that I came up with, and I named him Brocephus just because of who's the singer, honey? Hank. Yeah, Hank Williams Jr. Is it a song that's named Bocephus? Oh, okay, they call Hank Williams Jr. Bocephus. And so I was like, you know, I feel like my very redneck kind of personality that I can portray sometimes is I kind of look like Bocephus, huh? With the aviators, I look like Bocephus. Okay, well, so for I feel like my redneck character is like sort of a bro kind of character, but also redneck, and so I go with Brocephus is how you know I've done it. And so like I just have this very innate ability to impersonate like a redneck. Like I've been at my job before where I've been in charge of making purchases from different vendors across, you know, the United States, and they can't tell that I'm from North Alabama. They're like, you don't sound like a redneck. And so but I could turn on the redneck like really easily because I've been around rednecks all my life, hillbillies, you know, I guess you could call some of them. And so like I know how to do the accent. Like I know how to do all that. Like I know how to sound like them. And so like it's just an easy thing for me to turn on. And so like because of that, I named a character that I call Brocephus, and that's just whenever I want to sound rednecky, that's who I turn on. And so I mean I can go and get Brocephus if you want me to.
Yes,
Come
if you
on
don't
in.
mind.
Well, you
We
just found the name of your band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
the Brocephus band.
Brocephus and the
Brocephus.
metalheads.
in the metalheads.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly.
I'll be right back. I'll go, hey Brocephus!
We have some questions for Brocephus.
I'm
Huh?
getting scared. I'm getting a bit scared about Brocephus, but anyway.
Brocephus and the Rednecks.
Oh, there you go, Purple. That's even better.
Mm.
Now here, Purple, this while Godless Engineer is wandering, because I was going to play this too, but I know we're going to run out of time, and it's going to be like our disclaimer song. And there's kind of lyrics in here that are a little bit inspired by you, perhaps. I'll just play this. It doesn't go for very long, but here's our disclaimer song. This is what we're all about. Okay.
Take nothing that we say to you as gospel. We don't claim to be gatekeepers of the truth. We are not a cult, we are not a church. We encourage you to do your own research. Try to get with the facts, because facts are where it's at. And question everything. Always apply critical thinking. Listen but make up your own mind. Think for yourself all of the time. Know the truth can be so hard to define. Try to keep it real, and you will be fine. Oh yeah, you'll be just fine.
So that's our little disclaimer. So I thought I'd just throw that in while we're waiting on Brocephus over here. That actually we were talking about shorts, GG, before. I threw that out like last weekend, I think. And like from my channel, I mean, it's not great for a big channel, but for me it was. Like I think it got 539 views.
Wow.
Through when I went to bed that night, it had like 1 or 2, and then next day I woke up, it was like 539. So that's by far my best for short. So I don't know, maybe I've clicked on something there, but it went really well. So the shorts thing is definitely a good approach. But that's our disclaimer song.
That's amazing. I don't know about you guys, but I think we're on to something here. We like we have a disclaimer song. We're on something big. We're like moving forward, people. Look out for us, the utopians.
I think it pretty much, for me, says everything that I wanted to
Exactly.
say in that about it. Like, we all have disclaimers about our shows, but basically it's like, don't take our word for gospel. Don't trust what we say. Go and do your own research. Think for yourself. That's just the whole point of it, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
My,
Anyway,
my
we've got
disclaimer is the Bible. I'm just saying, okay?
well, it's winning for you, bro, Cephas.
Of course it is. I don't know why we didn't guess. Okay.
Yeah, and I have 3 tenets. Okay, it's barbecue, beer, and freedom. Okay,
Hey!
those are the only things that I care about. Also, God.
God.
God is paramount. God's at the top, and then you move down the list: barbecue, beer, and then freedom.
In
Does,
that order?
does wife come anywhere in there?
Yeah.
Wife?
Yeah.
Guns come before wife for me. That's why I'm not married, and I've also got 379 guns.
I don't know. It sounded like God was an afterthought after the barbecue and beer.
Exactly. And then like wife only as well as she makes the barbecue. Like I've got issues here. Like what's going on here?
Are you kidding me? No, I make the barbecue. Okay, you ask KC over here. I mean, well, okay, GE makes the best barbecue, but I mean, I'm the second best at ribs. Okay, I make great barbecue, or I can order it in a very expeditious fashion.
You could combine your top
video. I've got to get bro
God.
in a music video.
Oh my God, I just interpreted this. I know the best place to order the barbecue like ever, right?
I do. I know the best places. I've tested them all out extensively, and I know the best place to get whatever kind of fucking barbecue you people want. Okay.
Oh God, hey, Kelly, damn it, I was not ready for this. Like I'm not gonna be able to stop laughing.
It's a good thing you got Jesus on your side, because Jesus definitely knows about barbecue.
An incredible urge.
Listen, I fist bump Jesus every morning after I suck his dick by praying.
I don't know. I haven't seen any evidence that Jesus knows about barbecue. Now, Joan of Arc knew about barbecue.
Good point.
I'm more issued about the other. How did Jesus know about that one? Like
Jesus is all knowing, just like the good Father, so he knows everything. He knows about good barbecue.
He knows about everything. That's the point.
What? Look, what? If God didn't know about good barbecue, why did He insist everybody barbecue the sacrifices in the Old Testament? I'm just saying, like, everybody loves veal. That's the one thing that God wanted in the Old Testament was some veal.
That's it. You know,
valid point.
It's impeccable logic. You can't argue against it. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I think that's a very fair point.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I don't know. Since both Cephas has come out, it's kind of taken us down a different. Maybe it was my fault for playing that song. I don't know, but
no, it wasn't. Like I don't agree with GE's devil music, but I definitely listen to like things like "Our God is an awesome God." Like I could sing that all day. Our God is an awesome God. He reigns. Shit from above, or don't fuck with him. He'll fuck you up real good.
You can sing. Look, I was totally right. I was totally right. My intuition was correct. What's wrong with that? I know your wife shit on you and doesn't think you can sing.
That was so out of tune. I don't know what you're talking about there, Art.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly. I mean, I don't know the song, but
it's inspired the word change that you did on the fly. Like this inspired this true talent. The props.
It's impressive.
It is.
I want to hear that on a banjo or whatever it is you play. Ukulele.
Ukulele.
Yeah. I got a banjolele. Have you ever seen a banjolele?
No, I can't. No, I haven't.
No, what is it?
And I know you get all kinds of fun little instruments, but I've not seen little hybrids, but I've not seen that one.
Right. So you know what a banjo is?
Mm-hmm.
You know what a ukulele is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, those two instruments fucked, and then they eventually produced this Frankenstein of a fucking
Which one?
monster here.
Which
It
one
evolved.
birthed it? It evolved, like like osmosis or what?
No, they fucked and then had a mule. Like it's like a horse and a donkey, and then it has a mule. You know,
That's
like
how evolution works, isn't it?
yeah, this guy can't fuck like a flute and come out with a flute banjololi or something like that.
Oh my
Just
God.
saying, like it has a very specific sound, right?
Well, they have to produce within their own
You need to
kind,
tune
so
that
it has
sucker.
to be a string instrument.
So it could reproduce with a violin.
Oh, there's a step. Like
That would be interesting.
that's a step up. Like you know, it's like the violin from
A
you.
banjolalin.
A banjo.
Can you imagine a fucking hick like Mozart or something like that, and playing the banjolalin, and but he's like all hick and stuff, and he's thinking about fucking his sister? I mean, that's just great.
Oh God. Oh. Oh
No,
my.
that's right. That's right, Casey. You can't take me nowhere. What are you gonna do when we got guests in a couple of weeks, huh?
Uh oh.
She's gonna hide you in the closet.
Just hide the glasses. Hide the glasses.
I don't know. I think that she'll probably bring me out. I mean, I don't know. I think she'll want to expose me. Yeah. We're hosting one of the apostate sisters. Y'all know them?
Oh,
Oh
cool.
yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
awesome.
Yeah, we're hosting. I believe it's Nancy that we're hosting here at the house. So I'm gonna have to give up my blanket and my bed in order for them to sleep here. So. Oh, apparently I can sleep in Xander's room, who's GE's son, and then we get plenty of blankets. So apparently I'm fine for some reason. I don't know.
Well, bro,
I feel like that.
be drunk out in the backyard somewhere anyway, like asleep with a bottle of scotch and a
Yeah, it's
know.
not too cold, Jay. You could
I-
pitch a tent.
Pitch a
bottle of
tent.
bourbon, actually.
You could pitch a tent.
Oh, only if Jesus shows up am I pitching a tent. I'm just saying.
Yeah, well, from what you said, he's pretty good with the poles, so it should be okay.
Yep, he is. He is good with the poles. Can't wait for that motherfucker to spin down them.
Okay, I'll stop.
Now, I'm sure, look, we've gotten off track, and I don't care. It doesn't matter.
We've gotten off track for this bullshit.
Josephus go and bring GE back.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
my
fine. I'll go get
Well,
GE.
actually-
Hey, Godless.
I think
I'll be
One
right
of the
back.
things I've wondered
Josephus
about.
seemed quite happy.
He's gone already.
That was funny. I've definitely got to get Bro Cephas in a music video at some stage.
Oh my God. It's so good.
Caitlin's right. We got off track because we invited Josephus.
I know I wasn't
Yeah.
prepared, Kelly. I did not know anything about that. Like,
Oh, really? Oh, Josephus always lightens the mood. You
my.
anytime you have GE, you got to bring in Josephus for at least a couple minutes.
I
Well,
have
we had
urge.
about 20 questions to ask. I think we've only asked one.
Well,
So that's
He
kind of funny.
did answer a few of them, even though we didn't ask.
Well,
Right,
yeah,
he did.
He answered that he is an
Sure.
engineer. Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I do
Well,
want
Did that
Right.
motherfucker drink my beer again? Because he
Yeah, he
always
did.
drinks my shit.
Now, who's this
Casey
boring
can get
dude
you
that's
another
turned
one.
up? Like,
I'm
Okay, look.
just,
That's
I'm
what
just
women are
GE.
for, right?
Yeah. Well, actually, yeah, there was a question about if you were a real engineer. What kind of engineer are you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's a good question. So I've got my if you can see my hold on, right between my fingers,
Mm-hmm.
maybe right there we go. I
I
got
can
it.
see a diploma there.
Your diploma?
So I'm twice over an engineer. I've got my bachelor's degree in computer engineering. And those after I started with an electrical engineering degree, but I got a job where I worked as a computer engineer, and so I switched my engineering degree. Well, I was an intern, so I wasn't working as like an actual engineer yet, but I was an intern, and the primary job at where I was working at was computer engineer. So I switched to computer engineer. became a computer engineer, and then they had this program at where I worked where they would pay for me to go back and get my master's. And so the master's that I chose was a software engineering degree. And so I ended up getting my software engineering degree. So I'm twice over an engineer, one computer engineer, which includes both hardware and software, and then software engineer, which is primarily focused on building software systems at an engineering level.
Wow.
Right. So that is obviously the inspiration for the name, because I mean, I wasn't sure whether it was like you were talking about,
Yeah.
as
So
in
you've never
God
actually
is
driven
often
a
described
train.
as an engineer, I think.
Yeah.
Of
So when I
universe, or
yeah
whether
when
you're
I
an
came
engineer.
yeah when I came up with the name, I was trying to describe where I was at, sort of, I guess, in my
It worked
life.
for a couple
Like,
of reasons.
yeah, so like, being an atheist was really important to me at the time. Like, I was really sort of investigating like that part of me, trying to really figure out like why I don't believe in God, and really expose myself. I was really focused on exposing myself to all of the arguments that theists put forward for their God. And so like I was really focused on that, and focusing on honing in on what my arguments were. And so that's where the godless comes from. I didn't want to just be atheist, one thing or another. I wanted to be a little bit different. So godless is where I went. And then engineer, because I felt like my engineering background was very important to how I was coming to my conclusions. I felt like my very analytical and engineer side of my
Scientific,
personality,
basically. Yeah.
yeah, factored in a lot. And
Mm.
so that's how those things came together.
Yeah.
I actually admire the double entendre there with engineer, is like
Mm.
engineering coming from belief to non-belief in how you're
Mhm.
dealing with the whole thing. Because I, all along, knowing your channel and all, did not know you were an actual engineer. Never really picked that up. And so for me, it was the other thing. It was about navigating and engineering the whole process. Like, yeah.
That's actually a very common thing. Like, people are like, "Are you an actual engineer?" It's like, yes, I am. And like, I've gotten into many different feuds over the past years about like my engineering status, because like people are like, "Well, have you taken the professional engineers tests or whatnot?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I haven't, because those are mainly for like civil engineers and things that need to be licensed in that kind of way." My particular job and my particular focus is not, it's not needed to take the professional engineer's exam. And so I just haven't taken it. And in fact, for software engineering, my actual profession, I believe it's IEEE has actually discontinued that particular test, because it's just not required for this particular profession. So I'm still a professional engineer. I work professionally as an engineer. I just don't need to be licensed in the same way that like a civil engineer would need to be
Right,
licensed.
right. Yeah.
But at the same time, you have never actually driven a train.
No, I have not driven a train, so I'm not an engineer in that way.
Yeah.
Now
Not
we're
the
on the
classic
triple
idea of an
entendre.
engineer.
Okay.
Yeah. The modern day version of an engineer.
Mhm.
Now you've been on the line a few times. You're like a regular. You make regular appearances on that show.
Yeah, I'm one of the primary hosts on the line, and
Yeah.
I love doing the line. The line is a fantastic experience. If
That's what I was going to ask, whether you enjoyed taking the phone calls and being that
yeah.
one-on-one type.
Oh yeah, definitely. So much so that I've taken to doing TikTok lives now, because I don't know why I haven't done this before, but on TikTok, you can have people request up and have a conversation with you, and you can have them like actively interact with you. in much of the same way that The Line and AXP and all the other call-in shows do, with the exception that like you don't have like a screener or anything, so you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants. You don't know
Right.
what's going to come up. Like,
Mm.
for instance, the other night I was doing a live on TikTok, and like some dude came up and he seemed totally fine, and then he started playing Hitler speeches, and so it's like you can't really know what you're going to get, but that's also part of the experience, you know.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Yep.
Mm.
Yeah. That's kind of the excitement, I guess. That it's the kind of thing that would draw an audience in there to want to watch that, because you're always going to get some loonies out there that want to present you
Yeah.
with things like
The
that.
unpredictableness. You really got to be on your toes. Like, I can't even imagine trying to deal with that. Somebody giving Hitler speeches. Like, I would be like, you just hit the button. Like, do you guys have a chute? You hit the button and they go flying off.
Well, yeah, so you can easily like disconnect the person, but sometimes, like if you're not expecting it, it can take a second.
Catch
So,
you off
like,
guard. Yeah.
yeah.
Did you have a question, Gigi? Because I do have a.
I had a question that's not on your list, and that is, how long
Sure.
have you been an atheist?
Oh, good question. So I deconstructed around 2008, 2009 roundabouts, and it took a little while in order for me to like actually deconstruct. And it started with one of my best friends, like person that I've spent so many nights with. He mentored me in many different ways, and you know, he basically said to me, you know, you either have to believe in the Bible from cover to cover as literal history, or you're not a real Christian, which now I would recognize as a no true Scotsman. But at the time I was like, oh, well, then I guess I'm not a real Christian. I got to figure out what I am. And so over the next few months, I figured out like, well, I just simply don't believe. And, you know, that's how I kind of deconstructed. I went and I looked at the different arguments. I heard both sides of it, and my analytical brain, when I actually hyper focused in on like what's the best argument and what convinces me, I found that I just simply wasn't convinced of God's existence. So there's like no need for me to do it, which is no big surprise, because like whenever I would hear like crazy like stuff, you know, being said outside of my religion, I'd be like, what? That's crazy. Like one person one time told me that they would go to these parties or these raves where psychic vampires would be broadcasting their vibes to everybody and everything. And I'm just like, okay, sure. Psychic vampires.
Yeah.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Along that line, I have one for you. In your travels from belief to non-belief, is there anything you brought from belief that is still positive that you use today, like some kind of experience or anything, or even just anything about your fortitude that started back then that you still have, that didn't go away because you switched from belief to non-belief?
Yeah, so like I've always identified more with my father in this respect, because my father is a Catholic still, even until this day, to this day, but he's very progressive and liberal. And so like he was very progressive when it comes to like a bunch of social issues. And it's really just, you know, the whole Catholic adherence to tradition and all this other kind of stuff that he you know, still believes in God and all this other stuff. But the one thing that carries over to till today is this sort of progressive idea of what it means to, you know, love your fellow man or to be a good person or whatnot. Because even though my dad is Catholic and he believes in, you know, the Christian God and everything, he was still a very good person. And so I had this constructed version of the Christian God in my head that was idealized, like what's the ideal kind of representation of humanity. And so like I always strive to be that ideal representation. I always strive to love people no matter what, you know, like love people no matter what their disadvantages are, or what kind of negatives that they had. Like not try not to judge people based on too many things. Like I still judge people. I'm a judgy bitch like on a lot of occasions. But
Aren't we all though? Yeah.
yeah,
We're
yeah,
all just
exactly.
human.
Exactly. But I was, I am still a lot more lenient and a lot more understanding and try to really connect with people and everything like that. So I think that that's something that's carried over, but I think that it only carried over because I had this very idealized version of everything. Like I had this idealized version of the Christian God. I had this idealized version of Jesus that is not actually representative of what the religion literally teaches. Like that's in the holy books. It's a specific interpretation of things. And
Yeah.
it wasn't until after I left the religion that I realized like how horrible the religion actually is, how horrible the teachings actually are, because I was working off this interpretation that just doesn't exist.
And that brings me to you were actually, from what I'm getting you saying, is that part was based on the people around you, your family, your father, who you respected, that were doing good things. This happens to me in my family. I come from a very religious family. They still are. But you see all the good works, and they're good, solid, honest people caring about other individuals. But it's the religious aspect of the big part of it that throws me, so much. But it sounds like you had the same thing. You've got this positive influence that's not really related to God at all.
Yeah.
A good person, just a good, solid
yeah.
person doing good things. Yeah.
No, yeah, totally. I think there was totally an idealized and made up version of the God that I thought that I worshipped, and like I think that it was totally different from what the Bible literally teaches, but also it was different from what a lot of my counterpart, or not counterparts, but contemporaries, thought about God and Jesus. And I found that after I deconverted from the religion.
I think that's the hardest part in deconversion, is the lack of acceptance for us to just say we don't believe in God, and yes, we're the same person that they loved and admired 50 seconds ago, and we're giving them the respect, like, go ahead, you can believe what you want in regards to God. You're still a good person to me. Why am I not? Because I won't say I can't question this belief in God. Like, it's very disheartening, but I've always wanted to ask somebody that question
for me,
without
like
getting in
after I
trouble.
deconverted,
Yes.
yeah.
We are out of time. But John, before we go, is there anything else that you would like to leave the audience with that you didn't get a chance to say?
I would just like to say for everybody that's watching that always stay connected to the community, and always try to make a positive impact on the community, a positive impact on those around you. That's what I try to do. I try to be a positive influence on everybody that I meet, and everybody that watches my content. I try to empower people to know that, just because you don't believe in God, you're still a good person, and that you can still be a good person and justify that in some kind of way. And that, I feel like most people need to turn the tables on religious apologists and get them to actually defend their position, rather than, constantly being on the defensive about not believing in the magical wizard that supposedly exists. So I hope that that's the main takeaway from anything that I ever do, is to empower people to feel better about themselves because they don't believe in a magical wizard.
Wow, it's important. Thank
Awesome,
you.
mate. Yeah, perfect. Good outro. Look, I really appreciate you coming along. As I said before, like we're only a tiny channel at the moment, but I guess you got to start somewhere. And actually, I'm just looking at it. We just reached 10 viewers. So, like, for me, that's pretty good, So look, thanks very much for coming along, mate. And I mean, we've had a couple of good interviews. We had Godless Granny on for the first one. Then we had Erin Lewis, who's an atheist author, came along for the second one. Now we've got you for the next one. I'm going to ask Aaron Ra, who I've been in contact with because I'm doing some musical stuff for him, which he's using bits and pieces. So we've built up a bit of a relationship, and I'm going to ask him. He may be the next one. I don't know exactly when. But for this one today, mate, you've been great fun and informative, and it's been a really good interview. Love to meet your what was his name again? Brocephus.
Josephus.
Your redneck brother.
Yeah, he's
Okay.
probably asleep in his bed with his blankie now, but you know,
Yeah, well, go
he
buy
comes
him a
on
beer when
occasionally.
he gets up.
Praying to God. Yeah. So thanks to all the panel. Thanks to the people in the chat. And in fact, mate, as I was just saying before, we had like 20 questions to ask, and I think maybe we asked 5. You covered a couple anyway.
I'm
but
so
we've had
sorry
great
about that.
fun. We've had great fun, but I would just like to say it'd be awesome to get you on again in the future if you'd be open, maybe down the track a little bit, not soon, but down the track.
Definitely.
Would love to have you back on. So yeah, appreciate that very much. Gigi, do you have anything that you want to add, or
Nope. Just thank you so much for coming, John. It's been a pleasure having you.
should
Mhm.
I?
Nope.
Should I? You know what I'll do? I usually have another little outro song that I play that's got my like family in it, because my whole family, as these guys know, are musical. But what I'm going to do, because we did get a bit of a laugh out of it, and I think we'll play it again for John, Godless Engineer. And thanks very much, mate. Thanks, panel. Thanks, people in the chat. And we'll catch you in the next one. Don't know when it's going to be, but it'll be within the next few weeks, and possibly with Aaron Ra. We'll see how we go.
Right.
All right. Okay. Thanks, guys. Catch you soon.
Yes.
This is true. Jesus will rule, but only if you don't appease my wizard. He will burn you in the pits of hell forever. You will go to hell forever. You spend the other. Pick wisely who you serve. Which is alright, so I can smell the sweet flavor. And so that's not cool. Just saying.